Hi guys, I'm Helios Geckos. Today we're talking fat tails. So I thought I should probably give like a quick little backstory as to what got me into African fat tails. The interest came along maybe shortly after I got my first Leo when I was in my teens, and when I was doing my research on my Leos, I probably came across them on the internet by accident. That was the first interest. Obviously didn't get my first one until last year from Chloe's Geckos, and actually most of them from Chloe's Geckos. If you don't know, they're quite similar to Leos, except obviously humidity, they need a little bit more than Leos, and obviously dietary wise they're quite similar. So again, like my Leos, I do have a variety. Obviously I do plan on breeding them next season, so we'll see what comes out of them. But yeah, let's crack on. First up, we have my A-male Dumpling. She is an animalistic tangerine. No, I shouldn't say it, but she's one of my favourites of my African fat tail collection. She's very chilled out, as obviously like sometimes when geckos are in the eggs, they can have deformities and whatnot, thus the name Dumpling. She's perfectly healthy, she eats so well, like she's one, I think she's my weight-wise fourth heaviest African fat tail that I have. A-males are also partially albino, and obviously with most things they don't really like the light. So yeah, Dumpling is also my only A-male as of right now. I have been tempted to get her a boyfriend. I wasn't really 100% sure on whether to get a striped A-male or just a banded A-male. Obviously my breeding plans A-male wise is to breed her back either to another A-male. Obviously I understand A-males have maybe some breeding issues like producing eggs and whatnot, but either back to another A-male or to my patternless, who I will get to. As you can see, her temperament's very good. Like, she loves being handled. Like, she sometimes will just sit on my arm, like if I've got a hoodie on, and just like fall asleep, because obviously I radiate heat a lot, so she'll just chill on my arm or she'll just chill on my hand. Yeah, she's quite calm. She likes a good explore, but she's actually the only African fat tail, I'm sure people will know this, that actually hasn't hissed at me. She's never hissed at me once. And people that keep AFs will know that a lot when they're juvies or they're babies, they will hiss quite a fair bit. But no, Dumpling's actually been quite nice to me, to be fair. She's never really even jumped out of my hands as well, whereas obviously one of my normals, wild types I'm about to get to, they've been the most hissy ones I've got. But yeah, that is A-male. That is Dumpling, the A-male. This is my whiteout Poppy, if I can get a good angle of her. So you see the whiteout markings are very, very beautiful, right? It's one of the reasons why I'll come back here, why I wanted a whiteout if I could get hold of one. I got her, she's bred from Chloe's Geckos African fat tails, but another breeder bought her first and couldn't really get on with the species, so I said I'll happily take her, but she'll go with my projects eventually. Specifically her morph is a genetics wise, she's a whiteout het Oreo, so she should hopefully produce some lovely babies as and when she's obviously the correct weight and size, and obviously during breeding season. My breeding plans with her, I'd probably, like I said with Dumpling, I'll either try and breed her back to an A-male if I get one, or to my patternless male, just obviously I can try and produce some whiteout patternless whiteouts, or whiteout patternless. I'm still with the Leos, still learning the different like terminologies and everything, like the way round of saying specific morphs. But she, temperament wise, when I first got her, obviously with most geckos they do take a while to settle in. She has hissed at me a fair few times. She has been quite sassy, to be fair, but she's a lovely gecko. That's another reason why I do like AFs, I should have said, is that they're a lot calmer than leopard geckos. They have a better temperament, and as much as they do hiss, as I say, they're a lot slower. And although they can bolt if they really want to, if they feel threatened or they don't like what's happening, yeah, they have a nicer pace to them. And I'd say, even though I love my Leos, I do probably think I would prefer a bigger collection of African fat tails if I'd known they were like better temperament wise. With my AFTs, I do feed them on a diet of locusts, sometimes Morio worms. I think I've got 2 African fat tails currently that eat Morios, which is one of my males, which is one of the normals, and my Oreo patternless, who I'll get to in a minute. She, if you think, she's a little bit smaller than some of my reptiles, as she was quite fussy. Took a little while to get her onto locusts because she just would not eat anything, and now she eats like a machine. She just has taken her time to put some weight on. I don't believe she has parasites though, because she hasn't gone quite stick-tail yet on me. But yeah, that's Poppy. This is Dahlia, my Oreo patternless. She's lightened up a lot since I got her. She's also very, very feisty, and even now, even though I've had her since last December, the same again with Poppy. Even though I've raised Dahlia since she was, I think she was about 2 or 3 months old, she still very feisty, was quite bad with food, wouldn't really take to it. Now she eats like a monster. She, once again, yeah, she's getting there. She's started putting on weight. She has spouts of where she's either really, really hungry or just turns her nose up, which is a pain to me because she's my most expensive aft. No, she can be quite lovely sometimes. As you can see, like, out of all the patternless, I'd say, other than the A-male patternless, which I'm still yet to either achieve in the future or get the funds behind me to buy one, she's beautiful, honestly. I'll put a picture somewhere here, wherever, but she was so dark when I got her. She was basically black, thus I gave her the nickname the Fat Knight. But now she's like this nice chocolate brown colour. And with my African fat tail like plans, I never thought like I'd go for something like this. I always wanted a patternless, like maybe a patternless stripe, but when I saw her, I was just, I've got to have her, just because just like her, she's beautiful. I'll probably end up breeding her back to the patternless, or as I say, if I have, or as and when, if once again, if I get an A-male, I'll breed her to that male. Yeah, she's come around in the last few months. She's started to calm down. She's not as hissy as she was. But yeah, she's on the same diet. Locust, and she's one of my ones that actually eats Morio worms. You wouldn't think so because she looks so tiny, but she wolfs them down, maybe like 2 or 3 at a time. And I think, to be fair, I'm quite fortunate to have seen her advertised, because there's not, I don't see many Oreo patternless, to be fair. I've Casey from KLG has just got her Oreo patternless. She took a liking to Dahlia from what she's told me, and kind of interested in an Oreo patternless. She also wanted to work with striped and unstriped patternless also, I believe. But yeah, that's Dahlia the Oreo patternless. This is Revel, my normal wild type het Oreo. She was the first ever African fat tail I bought from Chloe's Geckos last year. I wasn't going for a specific morph at the time. I just knew that I wanted one, because to build on my collection, I knew I wanted a couple of species, or I'd like to have a couple of species. And when Chloe told me she had a couple available, I was like, go on, please, just give me one, name your price. I wasn't bothered, that's you, if you guys heard that. I wasn't bothered if I got a male or a female. I just knew at the time that eventually, if I could get round to it, I'd probably want to breed them like Leos. As you can see, she's got this nice looking banding across her. Obviously you get different kind of looks to normals and wild types. Apologies, that's the next door neighbour's dog, not mine this time. And out of all my African fat tails, she is the one that eats the best. She was actually ready a couple of months ago for breeding, but unfortunately my male, who was also ready, didn't take to her. He started doing the tail shaking as any gecko would, went for the nip, started making his way up her body, and then just stopped, and then he let go. Obviously I understand with ovulation, and you know, the geckos know when the time is right, or whether they're ready or not. She didn't try and stop him, so I do believe she was ready, but maybe my male wasn't. So yeah, that is Rebel the normal. I do hope to breed her and Rolo, who I'm about to show, next season, to try and get some babies out of them. So yeah, on to the next. This is my male Rolo. He is normal wild type Pos Het 60 or 66% Oreo. I believe in genetics wise that kind of translates as both of his parents were normal het Oreos, I believe, whereas with Revel, one of her parents was an Oreo and the other was a normal, maybe a normal het Oreo. He is then the second African fat tail I got. Obviously, as I said just a minute ago, I knew I wanted to breed some African fat tails at some point, so I wasn't going to try and go mix match or morph, so I wanted to keep it relatively simple. So Rolo was the second one I bought, along with one of my Leos at the same time. As we can see, he's actually quite dark today, so I believe he's getting ready to go into shed. I will put a picture like once again here or here. He's normally more of a yellowy colour. I'd be very surprised if this was actually his normal colour as of right now, but he generally is normally a more yellowy he was a very good eater at the end of last year, and then we had an issue at the start of this year where he stopped eating. He lost a lot of weight. I was very confused, and at the time I was still using crickets, and I think I mentioned in my last video, in my Leo video, that obviously crickets can carry parasites. So I was worried, so I stopped feeding all of my geckos that were eating crickets and started feeding everyone locusts. Unfortunately, maybe a month or so later, he actually passed some moss. So I believe he'd actually clearly been digging in his moist hide, and I'm guessing he's seen it go, and he's gone for it. So he's ingested it, and I wasn't really sure. I can't really remember if obviously it came out this end or that end. But fortunately, he passed it, and after that, he started eating like a monster, and he jumped up from 25 grams to like 45 grams in a month. He just wouldn't stop eating. Obviously, I understand he was probably hungry, but yeah, he got to a good substantial size very, very quickly, which I was very happy about, because obviously I was so worried about him when he'd obviously ingested the moss. But yeah, as I said whilst I was talking about Revel, I tried pairing them, but clearly either he wasn't ready, or to my knowledge, maybe Revel wasn't ovulating at the time. But yeah, he was one of my hissy African fat tails when I got him. He's a very calm-natured lad. Now, obviously, whilst he had all his digestion issues and eating issues where he lost all his weight, I spent a lot of time hand feeding him and getting him used to eating mealworms and stuff out of bowl, because he gradually started eating more and more. Obviously, I wanted to try him with many things, so I tried obviously all the usuals, like when a gecko is struggling to eat, you'll try him with waxworms, mealworms, dubia roaches, which are quite good. He loves everything. He'll eat anything I put in front of him. I think since I've started feeding him Morios as well, he doesn't like mealworms now. He's a bit of a bougie gecko now, because he doesn't like the weak, poor man little worms. So he's still got a bowl of mealworms in his tub. He hasn't touched them, which is really annoying, so I'm guessing he doesn't want them. But anyway, move on to the next. Now this is my big patternless chunk. I can see he's just shed, so I have to apologise if you can sometimes see a little bit shed on his toes. But yeah, he is just a straight up patternless male. I got him from Gecko Park, who bought him from Fats and Racks. Fats and Racks is also who I got Dahlia from. I don't think I mentioned that, so I apologise. But yeah, this is Chunk, aka Kratos is his actual name, but my girlfriend wanted to call him Chunk because he's such a big boy for an African fat tail. He was a whopping 118 grams. His neck is actually fatter than his head, which in my eyes isn't healthy. So I've put him on a little bit of a diet since I've had him. He's a very, very calm, he's a friendly giant, as it would be. Honestly, when I saw Gecko Park advertising him, and I knew I wanted a patternless male, let's get in the light, you can see this nice lovely pattern along his back. I knew I wanted him. I knew that for my breeding plans, I was going to be breeding him to obviously my more expensive, or I don't know what you call them, just my other morphs other than normals, because I don't want to cross. Personally, for me, like breeding plans, and I know other people will feel the same, you don't really want to cross a normal with something like this. Like if it's a het or has a het on it, if I had a possible chance of breeding my female normal het Oreo to him, and I got an Oreo patternless or something like that out of him, I would happily do it. It's a risk to take, but obviously I bought Rolo purely to get normals out of him, because I know people do actually like wild type normals as well. But yeah, I plan to breed him to my Whiteout and Dumpling, and obviously Dahlia eventually, if I don't get an A male. He, as I say, he's a very calm gecko. Obviously, because of the size he is, he doesn't run about, he doesn't go mad. No attempt. As well as if you know AFS and their morphs, he's also got little white socks. Try and get it on camera, get his little feet in there. If you can see, he's got little white socks, which is cute. But he's just a big lad. One of the reasons Gecko Park was selling him is because he's such a size. He was scared of breeding him to his smaller females that are all like 50, 60 grams. But he was a little bit worried, because obviously this lad is pretty much double any of them. And as of right now, currently, I think because of breeding seasons just gone, obviously females like Leos as well tend to stop eating as much. Dumpling is literally just under breeding weight, but she stopped eating. She's still got a bowl of mealworms in her rub, but yeah, he pretty much is, or was, 3 times the size of Dumpling. I'll put the picture, I took it and I put it on my Instagram. I'll put it here. But the sheer size difference between the two was absolutely mental. But yeah, that is Chunk. If any of my friends or people I know, African fat tail breeders, whatnot, if I've gotten any terminology or any genetics things wrong in this video, please feel free to advise in the comments, or slip me a message on Instagram or something. No slating messages or whatnot. I'm still learning, and obviously I'm getting there, but yeah, it all helps. We're all helping each other in the community, so it's just one of those things. But yeah, that's Chunk, the patternless. Just like to say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it and showing off all my African fat tails. Next time, crested geckos.